Hey everyone, welcome back to Data and Donuts. My name is Aaron. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Craig Hayward. Hey Craig, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Aaron. It's great to be here.
Excellent, excellent. And so today, Craig's going to have a conversation with me in relation to technology and higher education, the adoption of it, and how we make those decisions. But before we get into that, Craig, could you give us a little background about yourself?
Sure. I'm the Dean of Institutional Effectiveness at Bakersfield College. I've been in the California Community College system for 20 years now and have worked at colleges and districts up and down the state. Very involved in statewide projects. I was an RP Group board member for 7 years, and that sort of pulled me into that larger stage. And I find that arena very exciting. So working on projects with the Chancellor's Office, things like developing tools and queries and reports on the Chancellor's Office Data Mart, like the Transfer Velocity Cohort Report, the Basic Skills Cohort Report, and working with the Multiple Measures Assessment Project research team with the RP group to understand the value of high school transcript and performance information for assessment and placement. And then once AB 705 hit, kind of figuring out how to implement, helping the field and the Chancellor's Office figure out how to implement that in a meaningful way. Currently working on the program Pathways Mapper, which is an exciting project influenced and kind of espousing or inspired by the principles of guided pathways. And we have about 50 colleges and universities who are currently implementing the program Pathways Mapper. So that was funded from an innovation award from the Chancellor's Office. And the goal was to scale whatever you developed with that. So we took that very seriously. And so we're hoping to see that scale up rapidly. And it's becoming an intersegmental kind of transfer mapping navigation solution for students. So doing a lot of work on that now, and getting a lot of philanthropic support and interest across the segment. So we have CSU and UC working with us on that. So yeah, I get kind of do all the regular stuff too as a dean. Enrollment management's really big right now. We're just coming out of the pandemic year, so understanding the impact of pandemic on students, differential kind of impact or disproportionate impact on different student populations, like who have we lost over the past year and who's not coming back, or has disproportionate concerns about coming back, impact of the digital divide, et cetera, the familiar things. So that's a little bit about me and all the stuff I've been up to and into for the past, couple of decades.
Excellent, excellent. So when we jump into our first question, when reviewing research data or planning technologies, what are the key elements that you look for?
So when reviewing, did you say research data or planning technology?
No, research data or planning technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And so when looking at these new technologies to help facilitate your work and the work of your institution, what key elements are you looking for?
I gotcha. So, as somebody who kind of, as often as not, is kind of designing a technology solution as purchasing one off the shelf, the things that I'm looking for are interoperability is a key one. So this is when you're, looking at your technology stack, what your college or district is into. There's some big key kind of forks in the road that you come to, right? So are you going to buy or are you going to build is one. And then another one is, do you want an integrated stack or do you want a best of breed scenario? And so I'm kind of more on the build, on the best of breed and build if there isn't something available, but also buy if it makes sense. So interoperability is big. How to, if you're going a best of breed solution, then you want your tools to play well together, right? And so that's one of the key things. Of course, price is always really an important factor. We don't have unlimited budgets in the California Community College. Nobody really does, but our pockets aren't the deepest. So we need to be really careful stewards of the monies that we do have. So cost effectiveness is really important. It's not just price though, it's cost effectiveness, right? Because you get something that's cheap, but it doesn't work very well. So the return on that investment is low. So I'm certainly willing to spend more to get a higher quality result. One of the things I'm just trying to think in terms of decisions that we probably all had to make at one point or another in the institutional research community would be like online survey software. So when you evaluate that, what are you looking at? And I was a long time SurveyMonkey advocate, user, and I was happy with SurveyMonkey functionality, for instance. But when they changed their pricing model a couple of years back, it got very much more expensive to use it in the ways that we like to use it, because now we had to basically have a dedicated license for each user, and it basically changed the return on investment equation, right? So I looked at other options that were available, and that was a point where we made a switch and moved over to using Qualtrics, which offers a lot of the same functionality as SurveyMonkey, but maybe a little bit more in terms of the depth and breadth of its offerings. It's a really good platform as well. But one of the things that it allowed us to do at a multi-college district is sort of establish, call it like organizational structure within the platform, so that each college could have its own area, and all of that within the same licensing fee, right? Whereas with SurveyMonkey, you could do that, but it would have been much more expensive. So, those are some of the things I think about. Also, the quality of the relationship, the support that you're going to get working with a vendor. And if you're going to build, you need to think about sustainability, staffing, the depth of the knowledge of your team to do work in-house. So a lot of times when I've done building, it's a kind of a hybrid partnership process with technology vendors who are specialists, who translate or transfer some of that knowledge in-house. So it's a kind of a blended product.
That makes sense. Those are some really good ideas and approaches to consider when seeking out different technologies to implement. And thinking about your experience across a variety of technologies and implementation, what are some key factors that have led to successful implementation? I think it's good to identify something, but then really get it up and running. So what are key factors associated with that?
Yeah. So I think the big one that we're probably all familiar with is buy-in, right? So you want to do your homework when you're implementing technology or looking at, certainly planning it's good to have that be a participatory process with a lot of players, just to bring those voices and that input forward. So yeah, I think, vetting and socializing the idea. For instance, we were talking earlier sort of off mic about the data warehouse work that we've each been involved in, and that how that bleeds into data governance. That's a very deep project to kind of develop a good data infrastructure. And part of that work, when we were developing a research data warehouse in the Kern Community College District. So again, BC had gotten an innovation award to build a data warehouse solution, which was going to be based kind of, I think of it, those like old claymation videos. I guess they're not all old, right? People still do claymation. They have, there's like a cool, maybe it's a monster, it's a cyclops or something, gonna attack Sinbad and his sailors. But inside of that, there's a skeleton of metal. They call that an armature. So now you can get a little window into how I think about things, probably TMI there, but I think of the data warehouse as having its armature is the MIS data, right? So we wanted to have a data warehouse that gave us consistent results or let us understand the numbers that the state was telling us about ourselves so that we could generate those numbers. Increasingly important for things like student-centered funding formula, right? So MIS is being used to allocate data to the colleges. So how can we understand that, plan for that better? So we're taking this MIS basis and we're packing other data from our ERP, which is Banner at Kern. We're bringing in the National Student Clearinghouse data, Canvas data, survey data, and kind of layering that and configuring that in a way that gives us access to a wide variety of data assets. But again, integrated, kind of going back to that early idea of interoperability, like can we get things to play well together and make sense as kind of a coherent whole? Yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. I think I might have lost the thread.
No, it's all good. No, you really hit on the point of, making sure things work together, really tying back to, do you have the buy-in? I think that's so essential because, it's like having a Lamborghini in the garage, and if it's a manual or stick shift and all you know how to drive is automatic and everyone else only knows how to drive automatic, it's really cool, but no one's going to use it. And I think really getting individuals in that process, like you said, and the approaches of helping people feel embedded, ownership, and training, onboarding, and the like are key components. And I also like the approach of saying, wherever you build it, do you have that support system, the training, the support, the technical staff? I think those are the other factors that really lead to that. And let's lead to our really next question. In 5 years from now, where do you see technology in California community colleges? I'll say 3 years because 5's really big, but
yeah. So, well, there is this idea of that's being discussed very actively right now of basically software as a service is the general umbrella term. And so can the enterprise resource planning system, the ERP that colleges run everything off of, right? Your Banner, your DataTel, your PeopleSoft, your, you name it. There's a few others out there. Can that be sort of, moved into the cloud, A, and B, can we share that ERP across the entire system? And think about the ability kind of to leverage our system size and the kind of efficiencies of scale that would come into play if we could do that. So that's a big question right now. It's a hugely ambitious endeavor. So I'm not sure that it would be, I don't think it'd be done in 3 years. But maybe in 3 years we would be, we wouldn't, have completed it, but we would have maybe completed the beginning of it and we would have made the decision as a system if we're going to go forward with it. So it wouldn't be the end or even the beginning of the end, but it would be the end of the beginning of software as a service, to paraphrase Winston Churchill. And so that could be a big move. The other thing I think we need to be on the lookout for is the impact of guided pathways on technology. And so as colleges go through their own sort of institutional transformation around guided pathways, and become more intentional about the matriculation process, onboarding, understanding the importance of students' program of study to the analysis of student progress and the ability to offer support and intrusive advice, et cetera, et cetera. All those good things that guided pathways brings to the fore, that's going to impact our technology. So we see, EAB recently acquired Hobson's. And so Hobson's owns Starfish back when it was an independent entity. And EAB has its own platform called Navigate, EAB Navigate. So again, maybe there's more consolidation, more. Now that doesn't mean that Starfish is going to become Navigate, because look at Ellucian. Ellucian acquired DataTel and Banner, and they're really continue to be maintained under the Ellucian umbrella as sort of distinct platforms, because there's just so much to try to bring those together. But maybe if we went into the cloud, that's where that could begin to happen, where we see this kind of merge and become one platform. And that's getting back to that data warehouse project I was talking about. I find that really exciting, the idea that if I had this data warehouse platform and I shared it with you, Aaron, and we had the same infrastructure, we could share reports. And now imagine that times 50, right? The two of us, but 50 more times over, and we've got 100 folks. And we're able to just say, oh man, that was an awesome Tableau dashboard that you had, or there's an awesome dashboard you had, whatever the platform was, BI or Power BI or what have you. And you'd be like, well, here's the code for it. Just plug it into the data warehouse structure that I know you have, because we all have this same data warehouse structure that we can leverage. Now that's the big vision. So there's definitely a hefty dose of wishfulness and aspirational thinking in that, but I would love to see us kind of pull in more tightly as a system. And there's definitely, currents against that as well. So, we'll see where it ends up playing out, but there's some potential there for that to happen.
Most definitely. I think that's a key component, is it sounds like the future's really lean towards, flexibility, agility, and enterprise systems where everything, as you had alluded to earlier, is very interlinked. There's consistency, standards, and quality across the platform. We're all speaking the same language. I think that's the best thing, is so when someone says, hey, look at my AB 705 report, you can go to any school and say, look at my AB, and it follows that same quality and really methodology. So there's no question of that. And we can start planning together more systematically. So that's really cool. And so with our last two questions, so question one, both these questions relate to the name of the show. And so first question, I've heard data and donut, or data said 1,000 different ways. So I've heard it data, data. How do you say it?
Who's your data? No, sometimes I like to say that. Sometimes that's more of a joke, but I usually say data, I guess. Okay. One of the things that, in all honesty, I struggle with is data is plural. And I'll sometimes say data is instead of data are. So hey, it's I don't care how you say it. It's more about how you operationalize it.
Exactly. No, totally. And so it just helps me as I shape the name of this program. And so the next question is, what's your favorite donut?
Probably the Boston cream.
Excellent. Good choice. You're one of many people
from Massachusetts. So,
there you go. It makes sense. Awesome. Well, it was fun today. It was good chatting, and we'll catch up soon on talking about more technologies. I'm interested in hearing how a lot of these play out. So thank you again. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.